Welcome back, everybody. This is Modern with Randy. I am Randy, and today we're talking about what to expect at the Modern RCQs and kind of what decks I think are going to be pretty prevalent through this RCQ season, and what kind of expect for, prepare for, and what you might be looking to take for your next RCQ tournament. As always, guys, if you like what you're seeing, you like what I'm doing, go ahead and leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel to help this grow a little bit. And let me know what you guys are taking to the RCQs. Let me know what you think you're going to see, what you think is going to happen with the up-and-coming ban announcement. So, without further ado, let's get into what I expect here to see. Nadu. For the surprise of no one who has been paying attention to Modern or anything along those lines, I think that the first couple weeks of Modern season, you're going to see a lot of Nadu. Expect it, prepare for it, play it. I will say, I think that if you can afford to play Nadu, or if you have most of the cards already, like if you have like the land base, you have Court of Callings, you have all like the money cards already, I would play it. I think that the goal here is you should play the deck. I think there's no reason not to play the deck. It's broken, it's super powerful. It wins as early as turn 3 with basically almost no setup. It's a great deck. I mean that in not the literal sense, because I think it's terrible for the format, but I think that if you are looking to play a deck in the first couple weeks, if you have all the cards relatively, or you have most of the cards to where it's going to cost you sub, like, $50, $100, or whatever you're comfortable with spending on a deck that's going to get banned, in my opinion, this is not, it's going to happen, play Nadu. If you can afford it, if you already have most of the cards, play it. If you want to buy the entire deck that you know is going, in my opinion, I know is going to get banned, do that too. I don't care. I'm just telling you that if you have the ability to play this deck for essentially nothing, I would build it. It's something I'm almost contemplating building because I'm missing about $20 worth of stuff. That's not true. Shooters are like $10 a piece right now, so I'm missing like sub $60 worth of stuff to build this deck, and I'm honestly contemplating just building it just to play it in the first like week or two before it gets banned. This is definitely the best deck you want to be playing if you're going to be playing one of the RCQs for Modern in the first couple weeks before the BNR announcement. Everyone knows why this deck's good. It's been oppressive online. It's been oppressive in paper tournaments. There's not much else to say. You guys know why this is good. Moving on, though. So what I think will be the number one deck after ban announcements list, I think that Boros Energy or Mardu Energy is going to be the number one deck. I'm not sure where it's going to end up lying, right? I'm not sure if it's going to be Mardu is better or Boros is better, but I think this is what you want to play if you're looking to build something long term, right? If you're looking past if you're looking after the ban announcement that's going to happen on August 26th, this is where I would be building towards. This is something I would be building. If it's a style you like to play, the deck is very good. It's very consistent. Obviously, you can change some numbers. I know Static Prison gets changed around. Fable and Blood Moon numbers get changed around to some degree. Like this list was playing 2 Arena of Glory. I just took a generic list from a 5-0 league or a top 8 or a challenge or something like that. So this is this is not the set be all end all list by any means, but I do think this is something if you're looking at playing after the ban restricted announcement, this is what you should be looking to play. This I think will be probably the number one deck in the format, or right around top 3. This or Mardu, just really depends. Very consistent deck. It's a low to the ground curve. We have Guided Souls and Ocelot Pride and Ragavans as our like 1-drops here to help us get either card advantage, a crew advantage. Ocelot applies as an army in a tank or army in a can. So we have that. We have a Johnny and Amp Raptor, which is 2-for-1s all day. Bone Crusher's in there basically for a little more removal, as well as the ring protection. We're playing 3 Flages because why wouldn't we be? Card has been a house. Everyone's seen it played. It's done well. It did way better than I ever expected it to do. We have Lightning Bolt and Galvanic Discharge, plus 2 Static Prisons as kind of our removal suite. We have 2 Fables as a way to kind of dig deeper, and then Blood Moon so let's kind of lock our opponent out early and often. Deck is very solid. If you haven't seen this deck played, you haven't played it, I encourage you to pick it up on Magic Online, proxy it with your friends, whatever you need to do. Deck is very solid, does a lot of work. It is definitely something that I think if you are looking for like the best deck after the ban and the BNR announcement, this is what's going to end up being at least top 3, if nothing more. It will be a top 3 deck, and it's going to be something you can invest in and probably carry you through the RCQ season very easily. Moving on, we have the tried and true Living End. I don't see this deck getting worse by any stretch of the imagination after Nadia's banned, and it's a consistent deck, right? It consistently puts up numbers, it consistently does things. Overall, it's a cheap deck comparatively for most of Modern. It's very easy to build. Obviously, you know, when you to play it, you are going to need a little bit of reps. There is more to it than just Cascade on 3 win. There are some back and forth, when to grief, when not to grief, things like that. What you need to play around with, like the sideboard games. Game 1 is usually the easiest game for you. It's your most likely to win. Most people don't have Graveyard Hate main deck, things like that, so you're able to just go off with Living End, put 20 power into play, 15 power, 10 power even into play, and board wipe them, and just continue to turn your creature sideways until they no longer have life points. It's a consistent deck. We've seen it still put up numbers here in Nadu Summer. We've seen it, consistently do well, even after the banning of Violent Uppers. This deck has still been putting up numbers, doing well. Turns out, still having essentially a one-sided board wipe and getting back a bunch of powerful creatures is good. Not much more I have to say about this deck. I think this is going to be a consistent deck. Will this be, top 3 deck? Maybe not, because Graveyard Hate and such. But it's definitely a great deck to bring to an RCQ. You can definitely steal a lot of game 1 wins with it, and then just have to win one of the 2 sideboarded games. Not to mention, it's consistent. Like, I don't have a better word to say it. All your cards cycle to get to the cards you need. Overall, it's a relatively cheap deck. Grief and Subtlety, Force Negation, those are like your expensive cards here in the main deck. Not counting the land base, which is still not that expensive because Misty's were just printed in MH2, Blood Strands were printed in MH1. Shocklands aren't worth too much money now, and the sideboard's relatively cheap. It's a great deck to pick up, really easy to practice with as well. I would definitely look at building into this if you're looking to try to spike an RCQ, something along those lines. It's great to take as a one-off, and it's still not bad to take to the RC as well, depending, obviously, looking to future events. I don't know what's going to happen, what's going to get printed, what's not going to get printed. But at the time of making this video, this is a solid deck to take. I think it's one of those ones that is consistent. It's something to be on the radar for when you go to your RCQs, as well as not a bad deck to pick up and take to your RCs. Going on with like the combo as decks, I think that Storm is another one. I don't think it's going to be top tier by any means, because if Storm ever gets too big, people just play more hate, right? That's kind of the problem with Storm, is if it gets too big, it gets hated out. We saw it at the Pro Tour where everyone was packing, 5 pieces of removal or hate. I'm sorry, not removal, but hate for Storm. Hate for Storm, and it just, didn't do well. That being said, this deck has done well. This one just won a challenge recently, the list that we're looking at here. It's consistent, it does well. There is a little bit, you need to learn how to play. Your game 2s and 3s are where the matchup becomes really hard. That's where people have been bringing their sideboard hate, but this is definitely an easy deck to take and spike a tournament with. Not like, all it takes is people not playing some sideboard hate and you can win very easily. We've seen this all the time with how Dredge used to be, where people would stop packing Dredge hate and then would go and take down a tournament that weekend because, most people weren't playing anything to hate on Dredge deck. Takes over. Same thing with Storm. If Storm doesn't have the hate, if people aren't packing the hate for Storm, it's going to take over the tournament. It's a relatively cheap deck as a whole to build. It's just great, consistent. I've had a lot of fun playing this deck. I played it when it first got spoiled and it was fun to play. And yeah, it's just something that you can easily pick up. Well, not easily pick up, but you can easily pick it up, take it, do a little practicing with it, convince your friends that, owe you one so you can play test against them with Storm, because no one likes to play against Storm. And just like I said, it's a great deck to play as a whole. And I think it's definitely something you can easily take and spike in RCQ with no questions asked. Obviously, if you run into, a bunch of people packing a bunch of Storm Hate, you're going to have a bad time, but those are kind of the dice rolls that we roll when we're playing Magic. Everything always has some kind of graveyard hit, or everything has a hate piece against it. Whether or not you run into the hate pieces is the problem. But with Storm, especially if people just aren't running the hate, you're going to run over the competition. Not even close. So keep that in mind. Again, I think this is going to be I think it's going to be like a very good deck to take to an RCQ. Maybe not the RCs, just because, like I said, people are going to probably back hate for it there. But your RCQs, you can definitely just snipe and take one down and not have to worry. After that, we have Jeskai Control. Now, this is a weird one. I think this deck is still going to be good moving forward after Nadu's ban. Where it falls into the world, I'm not 100% sure. But I do think that this deck is going to... You're going to run into this deck. You're going to see this deck. Obviously, it's more on the pricier end of deck stability. You have 4 One Rings. You got Flages. Solitude, Subtleties, Mana Base, Force Negations, things like that. But I do think this is a good deck if you have the Rings of Things. It's a great deck to pick up. I've had a lot of fun playing this. This is the deck I'm playing right now. Minus tweaking some cards and things of that nature because, I always have to feel like you're the smartest player. But no, man, I played boards in the narrative, and that's why I'm smarter. But no, I think this deck is good. It's definitely going to see play play in the RCQ season. Whether or not we see what the final build of this is, I don't know. I think it's still kind of tuning and working its way out. But what it's going to play is a full 60, and then the 15 is always going to be changing with what you expect to see, what you're expecting to hate on. But I do think that this is a great deck to pick up if you have, majority of the pieces already. Like I said, the One Rings are definitely the most expensive part about this, but it's a great deck. It does well. It puts up numbers. It has the wrath and removal to deal with Boros, so that is a big thing there, being able to deal with that deck. And then it has the counter spells and things of that nature to deal with some of the other unfair decks. And then it just eventually wins by attacking with, Flage and dealing 9 a turn. Turns out that's really good. Definitely something I expect to see at the RCQs. I expect to see different variations of this deck at the RCQs. Definitely something to be on your radar for and look out for. I definitely think that this is going to be a more popular deck to see going into the RCQ season, especially before the banning of Nadu, because this deck does theoretically have a good matchup against Nadu. And then after Nadu, I think it's still going to be a good deck. I think some numbers are going to change. I think it's going to change a little bit more. But I do think this deck is going to continue to do well here in the RCQ season. Next, we have Dimir Frogs, Dimir Murktide, however you want to call it here. This is a deck that I think only benefits after we see Nadu banned. Frog has kind of been taking over. As a whole, is just a very good value creature. We have Oryx Bowmasters as well. Murktide Reasons is our big creature. Then we have, counter spells, plus removal, plus card selection. Turns out that's a good choice to play. Definitely see this as moving forward as being probably one of the more tempo-oriented decks you're going to see played. Obviously, I think the biggest problem with this deck, or the biggest worry for this deck, I would say, is the Boros aggro or Mardu aggro, like mid-range deck. Definitely something that can get underneath this deck, despite all the removal things. It has the removal to match your creatures as well. So I am curious to see where this falls under the lines. I think the main deck's probably going to get tweaked a little bit more after we see Nadu hit the bucket. And I'm curious to see where this will all shake out, but I definitely think this is going to be one of your more popular decks. I think that a lot of your friends or people who are on blue-red Murktide, they're going to be switching over to blue-black Murktide, blue-black Frog, however you want to call the deck. It just does really well. It puts up good numbers. It's a pain in the ass to play against, and it always has like that ability to kind of get itself out of most situations. So I definitely see this deck moving forward. In the RCQ season, I see it being a big deck to play against, for sure. And that's kind of like the main decks I had here for the RCQ season. I think that there's still a lot of dust to be settled. I think once Nadu gets banned, we're going to see a little bit more opening up. I think there's still going to be the Tron decks. There's still going to be Eldrazi. as a whole, I'm not sure how big they're going to be played. Obviously, your local meta will always determine what you see. You know, you might go into a room and there's only blue-black frog players. You know, that always could happen. But these are kind of like some of my top picks for what I would be taking to an RCQ moving forward here, especially after the ban. Like I said, if you have the advantage or the ability to play Nadu, I would play that for the RCQ season until it gets banned, just because it's so powerful, it's super good. There's just no reason not to. But I think that after, you know, the BNR on August 26th, these are some of the decks that I foresee showing up and taking down RCQs. I definitely think that Living End and Storm are going to be not very big, but they're definitely the decks that are probably some of the easiest and cheapest to build. You just kind of go out and spike an RCQ. They are very good, and especially when people aren't packing the hate for them. All it takes is people not packing Graveyard Hate and someone not packing Storm Hate, and you can easily take your local RCQ down without trying too hard. Obviously, it's not that easy, but it is that easy sometimes. So definitely be aware of those. Especially if you are not playing one of these two decks, definitely make sure you think about them. I see them being huge, but if you're looking, you know, to build a deck for the long term of the RCQ season and possibly even to the RCs, like I said, I don't know what's going to get printed or not printed, banned, not banned. I do think Boros or Mardu is your best choice to build. It is super consistent, super reliable, and super fun. It is basically a trifecta of what you want from a Magic deck: reliable, fun, and resilient. You know, it doesn't just die because your Ragavan was bolted on turn 1, and it doesn't just lose because your Amp Raptor got countered. It has resiliency, it has playability. It's a good deck. There's no two ways about it. And then once Nadu gets banned, your sideboard's gonna open up even more because Harsh Mentor will no longer need to be in the sideboard, so you get more sideboard slots. This is all around great deck. So these are my choices. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are taking to your RCs. I'd be happy to hear about that. Just kind of open up a discussion on what you guys think is going to get banned here on August 26th. But as always, guys, I am Randy. I'll be here bringing you sweet decks and helping you get through your RCQs to be able to get to that RC. I'll catch you guys next time.